watch back, giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion, going all out, yeah, 'cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion, going all out, yeah, 'cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K, 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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion, going all out, yeah, 'cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion, going all out, yeah, 'cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K, 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 S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Raw Knuckles. Hosted by Chris Nilan.
Nilan going ballistic. I love it. He's going to hit his own players. He's a madman. He's a freaking madman. And look at him going to town. That'll be a suspension. That'll be a fine. Bring them all out, Nilan, you freak.
It's gonna be sick.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Happy Sunday. Welcome into Real Talk with Knuckles here on the Raw Knuckles podcast under the Sick Podcast Network. Today, before we get into the Habs and what happened to them against the Penguins on Thursday night, the ass whooping they took, basically laying down their arms in the third period. They just quit, which, you know, I think someone like Patrick Waugh might say is totally unacceptable. And that was, for sure. And then we'll get into last night. They did bounce back last night. They were in the game right to the end. Valiant effort by a team who got certainly, like I said, laid down their arms on Thursday night. But before we get into the Habs and what's going on there, I'd like to address my podcast from last week with a man I truly admire and respect, Jacques Lemaire. I got a few messages which had some like not so good sentiments about Jacques, which I get, and everybody's entitled to dislike him, like him, or whatever. But I want to explain a little bit this whole thing about Lemaire and Lafleur and the feud that everybody believes they had and what came of that whole thing and why I guess we still talk about it. I had brought it up to Jacques during the podcast and we talked about it. And I certainly understand his position. Guy, in a sense, I understand his too. He was near the end of his career, and he was going through a difficult time. You know, winning all those Stanley Cups, 4 in a row, team going through transition, losing Lemaire as a centerman. Guys are getting older. Not easy when you get older in this game, and things happen. And next thing you know, your center iceman, who helped you have all the success you had in your career, is now coaching you. And that's when things go bad. But we'll talk about it. And today, certainly, my guest today, Tony Marinaro, was, I know he had two favorite Habs. One was Guy Lafleur, and the other one was right here. As we welcome Tony into the show now.
You're probably not wrong, Nux. Good morning. I had a couple of favorite Habs. So obviously, my childhood hero, my first one was Guy Lafleur. He's the guy who made me fall in love with the game of hockey. I mean, my age, or even especially a little bit older than me, Guy Lafleur was everyone's childhood hero, right? He was the flower. He was the most electric hockey player that we saw for a span of about 6 or 7 years in the 70s. Until guys like Bossy and then Gretzky decided to take over in the 80s. And then Mario Lemieux after them. And so he was, I love Lafleur, 50-goal scorer. I love Stéphane Richer later on, another 50-goal scorer. I love Matt Snaslin, 110-point player. I love the offensive players. I like defensive players. I never loved them. I liked goalies. I never loved them. But I loved offensive players, and I loved enforcers. I liked John Kordic, but I loved Chris Nilan. As a matter of fact, and I told you this, I only had, I think, 2 jerseys from the ages of, I don't know, probably 6 or 7 years old to the age of 16 when I was in high school. I only had 2 jerseys in high school, Guy Lafleur and Chris Nilan. And the one day I wore my Chris Nilan jersey, we were playing Cosm hockey, and my team lost. And if anyone knows me, they know that I'm the sorest loser at everything that I do. And I was really upset, and somebody said a remark to me, and I'm ashamed to say this now, but I kind of like threw my stick in their direction, didn't hit them, but they took offense to that, and they wanted to fight me, and I wasn't the most courageous guy, but, you know, I'm being challenged in front of everyone, so we took it outside in the hallway, and then, you know, he got in my face, and he went to give me a shot, and and I took his shirt, I put it over him, and I started going, and I'm wearing my Chris Nilan jersey. And so anyway, we get separated. I get called into the office to meet with the principal, and I'm scared like you can't believe I'm going to get suspended because my parents took school very seriously, and if I was going to get suspended, I was going to get reprimanded at home, and it wasn't going to be fun, and it wasn't going to be pretty, without getting into too much detail. And so I'm looking at the principal, and I'm trying to make a plea, and I said, Mr. McQuaid, really, I'm not that type of person, and I don't like violence. And he looks at me and he says, so you're coming into my office after getting into a fight with a Chris Nilan jersey on, and you're going to tell me that you don't like fighting? He did, but I think he liked you too because he did not suspend me.
Well, that's good. And it's funny, this jersey behind me, I never, ever put any of my stuff up. My mother had all this, God rest her soul, in her attic. And when my dad died back in 2021, we were up in the attic looking around, Jamie and I, and she found everything that's in my office here. And in the bottom of a green hefty alligator trash bag was that jersey right there behind me. That's my rookie jersey.
Wow.
I didn't know where it was. I had no idea. It was like finding gold for me.
Wow.
Because I had a Habs jersey of mine.
Yeah.
But when you go back, it's a Masca jersey, like from way back from the beginning. Like I couldn't believe it. And, I just never put anything up. And Jamie put all this stuff up, which is awesome. Cool. Anyway.
And I don't have your jersey today, but I have your Knuckles t-shirt.
I see that.
And your cap and your hat and your sweatshirt that you provided me with when I saw you last week at Comic-Con. And I got to tell you this, Nux. I'm happy to be having this conversation today about Jacques Lemaire and the whole saga with Guy Lafleur because I'm very passionate about it. And right before you start, so I just want to say this, like, as much as Lafleur was my childhood hero, I saw the worst years of Lafleur. I didn't see the best years of Lafleur. So, I mean, I remember my dad screaming when Lafleur tied it up versus the Bruins at 79. But, I mean, let's be honest, I was 6.5 years old.
Yeah.
But Lafleur was, and you know this is better than any, he was a rock star, right? He was a rock star, and it coincided he was doing an album, and I got the album for Christmas and stuff like that, where he would give tips on how to score goals and how to shoot and how to pass. And, there was videos of him in the discotheque, and he was dancing and stuff but he always made time for the fans. So I love it. I loved it because he was an entertainer. He was a goal scorer. He had personality. He had charisma. He was, he wasn't scared of anything or he said what was on his mind. He spoke freely. Sometimes it got him into a little bit of trouble, but I really respected and loved his authenticity. And when Lafleur retired, and I remember the press conference like it was yesterday, Nux, you could feel the pain, and you can feel that he didn't want to do it. But he was doing it because he felt like he either didn't accept his new role in the hockey team, or it wasn't fun for him anymore, or both, because, a new role wasn't fun. But you could sense he had a little bit of hockey left, that he didn't want to retire, but he did. And as a fan from the outside, without knowing all the history behind it or all the stories, you just kind of got the feeling that his retirement had more to do with Jacques Lemaire at the time than it did for him. So for a long time, I was really, really mad at Jacques Lemaire. But I love Guy Lafleur so much that if you tell me all the details and everything, and we know that Lafleur had a huge share of responsibility in that, I'll still defend Lafleur.
Yeah.
For me, Guy Lafleur could do no wrong.
I love them both. Now, I'll preface it by saying, growing up as a Boston fan, I hated Guy. And then I came here, and I got called up, and I remember Guy was coming off an injury, and we went out. We were in Verdun. It was I had to practice. The team had a day off. I was the only rookie there, and I came to the rink. I thought it was just going to be me. Guy showed up because he was coming off an injury and he had to start skating again. So it was just me and him in Verdun skating around.
Wow.
Afterwards, come on, let's go to lunch. He took me to lunch. It was like awesome. I'm there. I'm pinching myself. The year before, I'm in a college bar, the Casket Flag, and drinking with my teammates from school, right? And here I am at lunch with Guy the next year. I'm like, what the hell? He was always good to me. Now, the whole Lemaire thing, and I love Jacques Lemaire. I love him as a human being. I loved him as a hockey coach. And let's just say, was Guy going through a difficult time? When Jacques took over, what this organization needed, they were going through a transition, right? 4 Stanley Cups in a row. Guy's a big part of that, right? And now he's coming into losing all these guys. Lemaire's gone. This one's gone. Risero's gone. You know, Mondu was still there. Tremblay, Shutt. These guys are getting older. Doesn't get easier when you get older. I can attest to that. Then Jacques takes over as coach. Serge comes in. The team needs discipline. Lemaire takes over. I'm in Boston. Calls it 10 o'clock brunch. You know, we have an afternoon game, 10 o'clock brunch. I show up at 10 past. He goes, 10 o'clock. I'm there. Well, you know, it's a team meal. We usually filter in after we skate. And well, no, 10 o'clock means 10 o'clock. You're not playing tonight. I wanted to fucking rip his head off. I mean, what do you mean I'm not playing? You're not playing. That's it. When I say 10 o'clock, I mean 10 o'clock. So I'm pissed off. And, like, I wanted to kill the guy. But when I took a step back from that and I realized what he was doing, and he sat down with me and said, Chris, this team needs discipline. I had to use you as an example. And I did. And then the guys took an interest in me and helped me become a better player. And he worked with me and he gave me confidence. And then he fucking played me. And I was like, everything just started falling for me that way. But Guy, going through all those great times, 4 cups in a row, starting to see that transition, losing everybody, getting older, and now having to play within a system. And Jacques was responsible for putting that system in place. And people can say, oh, the trap this, the trap that. Like he says, I don't call it the trap. I call it the smart way to play fucking hockey and win hockey games. And, you know, he employed that thing. And eventually we win a Stanley Cup in 86 because of it. And we had a good team that, you know, transitioned well. We were a big, tough team, strong team. But getting to Guy.
Yeah.
Guy never played with any limitations. And in that system, there are some limitations. You have to be positionally in a place so you're able to be effective as a group on the ice. And Guy could never get that. Guy had to do his own thing. And he did. Guy did his own thing. He didn't play within that system. But Jacques even let that go. Jacques wasn't giving it to him like, you know, Guy, fucking be here. He would talk to him about it, but he wouldn't sit him on the bench and not play him because of it. He kept putting him out there. He kept playing him. And I remember the night, like Guy was really pissed at him just because things weren't going his way. It wasn't as easy for him anymore. He didn't have the fucking great Jacques Lemaire as a centerman. Now he's got him behind him on the bench. Yeah. And I'll never forget the day. Guy come off the ice. He was frustrated, like crazy. He wasn't scoring. And he come off the ice and he pulled the tape off. There was like 3 minutes left in the game. And like, fuck, I'm done. Well, Jacques called him, said, you're up next. And he put him back on the ice. His fucking pad was sideways. I'll never forget. Me and Chelly got in the car with Guy, drove to the airport. And I could tell he was off a little. We were talking. And he pulled up to instead of pulling the parking lot, you know, long-term parking, short-term parking, whatever, and then walk to the plane, he fucking pulls up to the door at Dorval Airport. And he says, all right, guys, I'm going to go. And we're like, no, we'll go park the car. We'll walk with you. He said, no, I've had it. I'm not going to play anymore. He was just beaten down mentally. It wasn't fun for him anymore. So that has a lot to do with one man also.
Yeah.
Coming to grips with I'm near retirement. And I know he came back and everything. He still wasn't the same player. He scored 19 goals in New York, 18 goals.
18, yeah.
I mean, Phil Esposito came to me and asked me, can Lafleur score 20 goals? I said, yeah, he can score 20. He would have. He was hurt 18 of the games that year.
He scored 18 goals and 45 points in 67 games.
Yeah. So still good numbers, right?
Yeah.
But again, the whole thing with the Montreal, I kind of make it analogous.
At age 37, if I can, Nux, after almost 4 years off. Yes.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Amazing.
But again, look at Carey Price. Let's say Carey Price. Say he was not injured right now. Do you think fucking Carey Price would want to be going through this right now? Yeah?
No.
Yeah. Okay. No. Do you think he'd be like, I got to get out of here. I don't care about the $10 million a year. This is a little much.
Yeah, and you know what? You're doing the right thing today to come to Jacques Lemaire's defense because look, I made no bones about it, right? So for me, Guy Lafleur could do no wrong. Like Guy Lafleur was no choir boy. We know what he did. We know about the car accident. We know about the extracurricular activities. But we all close an eye. Like for me, Guy Lafleur was larger than life, right? But everything you're saying about Jacques Lemaire, you're right. It's true. They're all facts. They were no longer the Flying Frenchmen of the 70s. They had to put together a system of play if they wanted to give themselves a chance to win the Stanley Cup. A. B. Guy Lafleur was no longer the same player. And I think what also happened was Lafleur and Lemaire were line mates. They were teammates for 8 years.
Yeah.
They were line mates for most of it. They were line mates in their best years of the 4 straight cups between 76, 77, 78, and 79. And I think Lafleur thought that because Lemaire was his former teammate and his buddy, that he was going to close his eyes and make him do whatever he wanted. I think that's what he thought, right?
Yeah.
And
he wanted the hall pass. He wanted.
And Lemaire said, "You know what? It's not about you. It's about a hockey team." And that's exactly what happened. And look, you're right to bring it up because Jacques Lemaire was right. You know, I'll share this story.
You got to put Tone. You have to put the team ahead of anybody. It doesn't matter who you are. Once you start, that you're going down a path that you're not coaching. You're going to be trying to satisfy guys.
Oh yeah, you and I know about that. We've different strokes for different folks. It doesn't. It doesn't have everybody happy. We know what it is. Yes.
Yeah,
we know what it is. Hey, look, I want to say this. I saw Michel Bergeron last week at TVA Sports. They actually honored him for his 50 years in hockey when he started coaching. His involvement in hockey it was a beautiful, beautiful evening of television on JC's show on TVA Sports. And so I was talking to Bergie off air and on air, and I said to him, I said, thank you for giving my first sports hero, my childhood hero, my first hockey hero a second chance. And so we started talking about that, and he shared a story with me that Guy one night calls Bergeron up when he's with the Rangers, and he says to him, he says, "What are you doing?" He says, "Well, Bergeron says, the Islanders or the Devils are playing the Flyers on TV. I'm watching the game. They're in our division, our conference, whatever. Watching the game, this and that." Guy says, forget about. Let's take the wives to supper tonight. Let's go on a double date. Let's take the wives to supper. And Michel says, "No, Guy, I got to prepare. They're in my division, in my conference. I got to watch." And Guy says, "Don't watch that. It's boring anyway. Let's just go." So that Bergeron started laughing, and he said to me, he says, Tony, he says, Guy Lafleur didn't love hockey. Guy Lafleur loved playing hockey, but he didn't watch hockey. He loved playing hockey. And then we talked about the whole Lemaire thing, and he said, very unfortunate. He says, even Lafleur was not an X's and O's guy. You don't put a system he won't follow it.
He won't. Can't. Yeah. And everybody like. My buddy, guy on Twitter said, "Sorry, Chris, I have no time to listen to this backstabber." Jacques was not a backstabber. Jacques never said a negative thing about Guy Lafleur. And I'm going to preface this all with telling you, life is...
But he also didn't because he knew he would have lost on popular opinion. But you're right, he didn't.
But that's not Jacques.
That's
not Jacques. I know him, and it's not him. And he wanted to keep out of it. Let Guy say what he wants to say, and I'll just take the lumps, and that's it. And really, all Jacques ever did when he heard the rumblings of what Guy was saying about him was, listen, he was a great player. He did great things. We had great chemistry together on the ice and all that. And he took the high road, which I'm glad. Life is too friggin' short. And
Yeah.
I've seen that now more than ever, losing my parents recently.
Yeah.
You know, and my best friend in Boston. Life is too short to hang on to that shit. And
Yeah.
it really hurt me seeing them the way they were. Like, some people don't give a shit about it.
Yeah.
And some people are going to blame it on one or the other. It
Yeah.
takes two. It's not just Guy and it's not
right.
just Jacques.
You're
it
right.
takes two. And it's sad.
Yeah.
It's sad.
And you know what? Let's be honest. Guy shouldn't have spoken to begin with, as much as he was hurt, because he wasn't a choir boy. Let's be honest here.
Yeah.
He
And,
was, you know, like, let's be honest here.
you can be a team guy when things are going great, right? It's real easy. When things are going bad, man, it's difficult. I struggled at the end. I was always a team guy, but boy, I struggled at the end because I was dealing with, you know what I was dealing with? I'm old now. That's a tragedy of being an athlete. We all deal with it. Our bodies betray us. And okay, Guy still put up some numbers, but man, you know, when you're a team in transition, and we're seeing it now with these Habs, right?
Yes.
Not in transition, and they're in a rebuild for sure, but look at all the shit that's going on and the question marks and why, and things have changed. The game has changed. I don't care what anybody said. The game don't change. The game has changed.
Yeah.
I don't see, and let's get into the Habs now, because I want to, I love talking about that, but I always love both those guys. They're so awesome to me, both of them.
They are.
They're great,
They are.
great coach and a great teammate who really were there for me in a lot of ways, which was awesome.
Hey,
And,
Jacques Lemaire is one of the best 200-foot players in the history of the game and one of the best bench coaches in the history of the game. Those are facts.
Facts.
Those are facts. Like the two best coaches I've seen in my life, as much as Jacques' style of play was not attractive to my eyes, what's the name of the game? Winning. He won.
Winning.
He won. And you know what? He not only won, he made the New Jersey Devils a winning organization after him because of everything that he put in place.
They went from Mickey Mouse to what?
Oh, yeah.
A great organization, right?
Amazing, yeah.
And why do you think he still works with Lou Lamoriello to this day?
Because Lou knows he's a genius and he can help.
Yeah, that's it.
You know, you talked about the Canadiens ended up winning in '86, and I was happy to see you make amends with Jean Perron, who's a good guy. And look, everyone knows that Jacques Lemaire was a big part of the Canadiens winning in '86 too. Like he was instrumental. Jacques was instrumental for the work that he did before in the years before, and for the work that he did, because he was an assistant to Serge Savard back then, but he was a big ally to Jean Perron, the coaching staff.
You know what's funny too? Before we get like Big Serge, he bears no responsibility in this whole thing, right? He was the general manager, wasn't he?
Yep.
You know, couldn't he have stopped this? Couldn't he have stepped in? And you know, I know he wanted Jacques to get this whole thing straightened out here. He was brought in to Irving Grumman, gone. Serge comes in. We got to start to do things different now. And it produced 2 Stanley Cups in the 10 years Serge was there. Yes or no?
Yeah.
I mean, they're pretty good numbers. Maybe not compared to what they were before, but they won 2 Stanley Cups in 10 years.
Hey, everyone will take 2 cups every 10 years here now.
Wouldn't they? They'd take 1 in 20, for Christ's sake, right now.
But you know what, Nux? I like the way the Canadiens played last night. And by all means, they didn't play a perfect game because they took a lot of really bad penalties at the bad time.
Yeah.
But 5-on-5, the Canadiens were good last night.
Yeah, they were against one of the better teams in the league, right? And here's the thing, and I'll say this. What I saw against Pittsburgh sickened me, okay? Now, I don't know at what point, and listen, I like Marty St. Louis. I think he's a patient guy, and he's trying to develop these young kids. I get it. Listen, back in my fucking day, Tony, the year I come in, I was the only fucking rookie. Then, as years go on, you might get one or two new guys come in. This whole team was a bunch of new faces, a bunch of young kids. And that's a very difficult job to get all these guys playing at a level and playing together the way you want them to. Now, you might have some faults in your system because of the way you think the game compared to some other guys. You can look at Lemaire and say, oh, we hate his system, this and that. He fucking won hockey games. Right now, the system that Marty St. Louis is using, right? Not winning too many hockey games. Now, it has to do with, yes, a lot of young kids in the rebuild and the system, because this team is very porous defensively. They're fragile emotionally. When they fall apart in a game like they were in with Pittsburgh, and you lay down your arms, and that's what they did. They laid down there, and they just fucking quit playing. And it sickened me to watch. Now, the coach afterwards, okay, it can't happen 2 times in a row. Great. He doesn't get too mad about it. We don't want to ruffle any feathers here. And they have a bounce back game. They played great in Winnipeg. And I was happy for them. Couple needless penalties. And believe me, I've taken needless penalties. I'm not going to, Kirby Dach's high stick was fucking stupid. 100 and whatever feet away from his own end. Josh Anderson's cross-checking. Thing about that, at least that kid was playing aggressive now. He's playing aggressive.
Yes.
And it's a good sign.
I like the way Anderson's bounced back. I obliterated him last year because I thought that he was he wasn't playing up to his nowhere near playing up to his contract. Not even if he was going to get minimum wage, let alone $5.5 million. But you know what? Okay, they probably want him to put up more goals. Here's a guy who scored 27 5.5 years ago. But ever since he fought Wilson, and he beat Wilson, and he fought Trouba, and he beat Trouba, and you know what? He's fighting for his teammates. He's winning battles. Look, he lacks.
That's what these young guys need.
He lacks consistency, but he's brought it. Like Anderson has bounced back. I respect his efforts this year. I really do. But the problem the Canadians have is there's a couple of problems, Nux, and like. So I was at Barry Lorenzetti's event that he had yesterday, and he had a gathering.
Christmas party.
Christmas party. He had a gathering last night, and there were quite a few people there, and among them quite a few hockey fans, right? And I'm starting to bump into more and more people who are saying, as time goes on, I'm starting to get the feeling that Marty's not a great bench boss. All right, but we have to keep in mind that Marty's part of this rebuild and that he's growing too, right? But more people are starting to lack a little bit of patience with the coaching than they did, probably a couple of years ago.
First 2 years.
To Marty's defense, because I give it to him quite a bit as well when I think it's warranted, he doesn't have a second line. Like, could you imagine not having a second line? Like, I don't want to keep on going on and on and on and on about Kirby Dach, but Kirby Dach's he's not helping the second line. He can't even help a fourth line right now. He's just not bringing it. When they had Slafkovsky on the second line, it was a disaster. When they have Newhook on the second line, it's a little bit better, but it's not great. Liney can't score 5-on-5 with whoever he plays with on that second line. He's got no second line. So the Canes didn't score on the power play yesterday, right? When Liney came in, he scored 3 goals on the power play in 3 of 4 games. They won the 3 games he scored in. They lost the game. He didn't score in. So the Canadians last night got shut out on the power play for the 12th time this season. They lost 11 of those 12. They got no secondary scoring. Yeah. If they don't get goals from their power play, their first line alone cannot win them a game. That's it.
And, we talked about Kirby and the injury, and that's a big injury to come back from. But when do you get over the hump? Now, and I said this before, you cannot play safe. You can't play safe hockey. You can't. I saw an interview with Rick Tocchet this morning. They lost to Boston last night, 5-1.
Saw that.
He come out and he said, this is an emotional game. You have to get amped up before the game, and it's so true. Here's a guy who played Heart and Desire and every night, and it got to be so frustrating as a coach, to see his team come out so emotionally flat. You do have to. This is such an emotional game. You have to get I look at this game some night, it's like fucking pond hockey. I'm like, are you shitting me? I want to turn it off. I'm like, fucking no one hits anybody. Listen, I get it. Back in our day, you could fucking hook a guy, fucking elbow him in the head. You could cross-check him. You could do all that shit and get away with a lot of it. And then you get called for it once in a while and you'd be pissed off. Because, right?
Yeah.
Because referees would kind of even the score. They kind of play. Yeah. But now you cannot use your stick to do anything.
No.
You can still hit. And very rarely do we see it. The teams, you look at that Josh Anderson goal last night. Brendan Gallagher goes in and takes the man, creates the turnover. Puck goes to Christian Dvorak. Boom, out to Anderson, goal.
Yeah.
Textbook forechecking. You don't see it enough. It's maddening. But Kirby Dach, I read the article in The Athletic about him. Here's his quote. You've got to be mentally strong in this game. Shit happens. You got to go out there and make plays afterwards and not let it make you afraid to make things happen or make plays. Because when you play safe is when bad things happen. He's playing safe. He is so in his head, this poor kid. I feel bad for him. I do. Yeah. And everybody's, he's making money. He should be. He is really struggling, and I don't know what it's going to take to get this kid out of it. Do you have to sit his ass on the bench?
It's not fun not fun when people struggle with confidence. No. It's really not. And you know what? You can't blame him either if he's playing scared. Like I've talked to a bunch of athletes who have had ACL, MCL. You know, half of them will tell me that, in whether it's pro or amateur, that in the first year they don't feel comfortable.
No.
But at the same time, you know, geez, I guess it's not easy for Marty to handle Kirby's situation, because I know what he's doing. He wants to instill him with confidence by not taking him out of the lineup, but not putting him in the press box. But, you know, when Kirby keeps taking bad penalty after bad penalty after bad penalty, or dogs it on a back check, or doesn't pick up his man, or has the wrong read, or the puck ends up in the net, or he doesn't produce offense, what message are you sending to the rest of the team? Like you said, if that player's not helping the team, but then he's always still there, he's always on the second line, he always gets his 13 and a half minutes plus, he still gets his power play time. Like, you know, like, you're going to end up losing some of the players on your team if you keep on always giving him.
Yeah, and it's really not it's a difficult situation, man. And listen, I like the fact that Marty is pretty. I got a feeling he has a good relationship with his players, and he wants to keep that, and he tries to get the most out of them.
Yeah, I'm sure that
he's an honest kid like that, and I get it. But maybe too. He maybe just I don't know if he has it in him to have that a little more bite in his coaching, a little more bite. Like, come on, like, listen, I want everybody to be like Tortorella, or you know, these fucking kick-ass coaches. But it's like now it's almost, if you say anything, you know, talk to a player, or you're a bit harsh with them, it's like, oh my God, you got to go see the fucking team psychologist or something. Let's go. Have some fucking balls. Have some fucking balls. Be a young man and take your fucking licks and go back and do your thing. Like, believe me, I have my issues with coaches at the end. I struggled with a lot of things. I did. I had my issues with John Perron, you know, but I had to stay true to myself too. The whole Perron thing.
I find what they're doing right now is like they're saying, okay, we're going to be in the mix. We want to be in the mix. We want to be in the mix. Everyone's on board. They want to be in the mix. But then when they lose games, it's like, okay, we're growing. It's part of the like, if you want to be in the mix, I think you got to get mad after losing some games too. Like, you can't just always keep saying it's part of the process, it's part of our growth, it's part of the process, part of our growth. Like the other night, I think he made a mistake by not losing it in the press conference. You gave up 6 unanswered goals in the third. I never saw that, but I don't think I ever saw that before in my life. I have to go back and check the game where they got blown out by the Red Wings 11-2 or whatever it was, and Roy was in goal for 9. I don't think the Red Wings scored 6 goals in the third in a period. Maybe they did, but when was the last time you saw a team score 6 unanswered goals? You're going to the third period. You're down 3-2. You lose 9-2. It's not normal.
Tone, all right, he changed goalies, okay?
Yeah.
What did he not? Was he not able to call a timeout and fucking?
He should have called a timeout.
I would have called a timeout and say, "Hey, you fucking idiots! What the fuck you doing out here? These people pay money, and here you are. You quit on everything. You quit on the goalies." I look at that goalie last night. He gave him a goddamn great chance to win that hockey game. He did. That kid. And listen, he's had his nights too, but man, and it's not all on the goalie. Like, is this a coaching mistake? Putting fucking Mike Matheson and Hudson on the ice at the same time. I don't see that. I don't see that. And it was one big man scoring that goal in Lowry. They couldn't contain him. They were fucked.
They couldn't contain him. Contain him. You're right about that. And
listen, you got that little man on the ice. You better have a big man with him. I just don't believe. And
they both couldn't contain him.
No,
they both couldn't contain him.
No.
By the way, good for Hudson, who scores his first goal
awesome.
in the National Hockey League game.
He's an exciting, awesome player. Again, you got to find a guy to play with him that's gonna fucking anchor his asshole to the other end of the ice and back him up all the time, because that kid's going. He's gonna create. He's done it. He's created so much offense.
A right-handed stay-at-home beast.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
he needs Shea Weber.
Yeah, he needs someone. He's such a fun player to watch.
With Shea Weber in his prime, you imagine?
Oh my God! Yeah, like forget it. Like, it just, he's such a fun player to watch. Like, he's so elusive. You look at him, he looks like he's trapped.
Yeah.
And he's by the guy, and he makes a pass to someone.
Last week, Liney said that he didn't know how Hudson played. So then they asked Hudson. Liney says he doesn't know how you play. And Hudson says, listen, this is the way I play. What I try to do is I try to create chaos and confusion for everyone on the ice so that my teammates get open and they're in a position to score, and I try and find them after creating that chaos. And he says, it's okay that Liney doesn't know how I play, because he doesn't need to be wide open to score. He can score from anywhere, type of thing. And Liney tried last night, 7 shots on goal, but Hellebuck was the best player in the game last night.
Yeah, he's the best goalie, one of the best goalies in the league right now.
Yeah.
And it's Lane Hudson kind of sounds a lot like me, huh? Chaos.
Yeah, but Nux, here's the deal, okay? So they lost these games. So if you take a look at the way the month of December started, there were winnable games in terms of percentages, much more than others, right? So the back-to-back game in Boston, after having played in New York versus the Rangers on the Saturday the day before, chances are you were going to lose it. You lost it. Then you played the Islanders, a better percentage to win. You won it. Good. Then you played Nashville, a better percentage to win. You won it. Good. Then you played Washington. Really, the only chance you had was Washington was playing 2 games at 2 nights. They were in Toronto the night before. They were going to get into the hotel late, but you lost the game against a better team. Then you had a winnable game versus Anaheim. You bounced back. You won it. It was a winnable game versus Pittsburgh. You should have won that game, or you had to win that game. You didn't. You got destroyed. On paper, you were going to lose last night. You lost. Now, Nux, they got 4 games before Christmas. They got Buffalo at home on Tuesday. On Friday, they're in Detroit. On Saturday, they play Detroit at home. And then on the Monday night, the 23rd of December, they're in Columbus. You can't drop any points. You got to go 4-0. 4-0 in regulation. You got to win those 4 games. For those, of course, who want the Canadiens to be in the mix. For those who want the Canadiens to not be in the mix and have a great draft pick, well, you don't care if they lose all 4. I get it.
Yeah, again, I heard some people like kind of shocked with the statement I made last week when I had Melnick on, that I don't think they're going to make the playoffs maybe for 3 years.
So I don't agree with you, but
good.
The facts do agree with you.
I just don't think they can do it. Now, here's why. Let me tell you why.
Yeah.
Okay, they got Demidov coming. Haig. They got some good players in the pipeline. I get it. Those guys, are they going to come in here and just light it up right away? No. They have to grow. It's going to take them time. Now, 2 years from now, Suzuki, all these guys are gonna, they got to be in a better position to succeed. They got more experience. Maybe we get a few veteran players in here that can help lead the way with these still pretty young kids. And then you take it that third year, you end up making the playoffs. I really think it's going to take another couple years before they get there.
The facts agree with you. So I work with this gentleman, Guillaume, at TVA Sports. He's an incredible statistician, right?
Yeah.
He was on Max Lapierre's podcast last week, La Poche Bleue. He brought up like real-time stats with a bunch of examples of teams that have gone through rebuilds, okay?
Yeah.
It takes over 10 years.
Hello?
It takes over 10 years. Most teams in the history of the league that have done full-fledged rebuilds, most teams missed the playoffs 5 years in a row. The stats agree with you. I'm more so going on the hope that Gordon and Hughes are going to shuffle the deck here and are going to bring in players that can help this team and make some moves. But easier said than done. And to be honest, as much as I hold them in extremely high regard, we got to put the cards on the table today and say that the trade for Barron, the trade for Newhook, and the trade for Dach, thus far, they're not good.
Yeah, they don't look good thus far.
They don't look good thus far.
They don't. When you think of Alexander Romanov, right? Big hitting defenseman, tough, all those things. Like, listen, it's one thing this team had, right? Was a good number of young defensemen, and you could move one. But boy,
well, it's not only that. Barron's not an everyday NHL player right now.
No.
Alex Newhook shows you
flashes,
one flash or two every second or third game. Kirby Dach, I don't even know if he's played one good game after 30 this year, with all due respect.
Tone, here's the deal, and I said it earlier, but listen, this game, I get today we talk about talented players and everybody's go with the puck and da. You know what? The fucking game is won on the boards, in the corners, in front of the net. It's won with grit, determination, and passion. Yeah. Not fucking tiptoeing through the tulips.
Yeah.
Oh, look at me pass. Look at me handle the puck. Look at me do a fucking Michigan.
That's what they have to add. You're right.
Bullshit. They don't have it. And I'm not taking away from Abba. I'm not taking away from Josh Anderson, what he's done.
Yeah.
But it's not enough. You got to have a big, strong, tough, talented team to win. They're not there yet. They have a bunch of kids that are playing like kids on a lot of nights.
They have fruits and vegetables, and they need to add meat and bones.
Fucking right they do.
Right?
Men. They need some fucking men with balls.
Yeah.
And you know, that's not a guarantee even then. But you gotta drag the rest of them in the fight. You can't allow, your team to happen to them what happened the other night against Pittsburgh at home. That is just like Patrick Waugh said. I love what he said.
It's unacceptable.
They won that game. It was unacceptable what they did to that goaltender. It was unacceptable what they did to Montembeault. It was unacceptable what they did to Primo when he got in there. Now Primo struggled. I get it. He's not proven he's an NHL goalie. I get it.
But they sent him to the butcher though.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
They did. They took the other kid out to give him a break because he's going to play in Winnipeg, and we don't want him. I get it, but geez. Anyway,
that night versus the Penguins, the third period, I remember being a kid. I think it was Saturday afternoons. They used to show on CFCF 12. They used to show the Harlem Globetrotters versus the Washington Generals. I almost felt like that third period was the Harlem Globetrotters versus the Washington Generals. It was unbelievable. It's probably harder in practice.
It wasn't fun to watch, that's for sure. I think, Tony, we got some questions here. I don't know. In yellow, we got some questions. Yeah, why don't we fire a few questions our way in yellow? All right, the Sick Podcast, Raw Knuckles with Chris Nilan. Good morning, Knuckles. Would you ever consider assistant coaching our Habs? Thanks. Of course I would. I don't think they'd ever have me, but, I'd never say no to anything. I'd be open to anything. I don't think they'd ever ask me to, but maybe they wouldn't ask me because I wouldn't be a good assistant coach. It might hurt some feelings. As an assistant coach, you have to bring the diapers, and you have to bring the baby powder, and you have to bring some pablum. And I do not carry that in my bag.
So look, I obviously think you could be a really good assistant coach because you're a proud guy, and you have a lot of not only knowledge, but you got a lot of really competitive juices going in you, and that could be really contagious to a locker room. But if you want me to put to be totally transparent, I can't see you mixing with Marty St. Louis. I don't know. Maybe you tell me otherwise, because from the outside, I get the feeling that Marty is surrounded by guys that see the game the same way as he does, where he wants them to see everything the way he does, and everyone's on the same page. And I don't think on every night you would be on that page, and that ruffles feathers, right?
Yeah. And as an assistant coach, you really have to. And I've come to grips with the fact that I'm not a good assistant coach. When I was with Lemaire in Jersey, it was difficult. I'll tell you that. I had a lot of resistance from Ken Danico, John McClain, guys. Scott Stevens fucking hated me.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Those three guys hated me.
Why?
Well, because the way I played against them.
Oh, got it.
And then, of course, I'm coaching the D now, going from Larry Robinson to me, and they made it really difficult. And Jacques was really good with me. He was awesome with me. And I take responsibility for that, but it was difficult. I couldn't be an assistant coach again. I couldn't. Like, head coach, yes. And that's why I ended up going down the East Coast Hockey League and coaching the 2 years I did there. And I friggin' loved it. I loved being a head coach. I couldn't do the other thing. If I want to pat a guy in the ass, I want to pat a guy in the ass because he earned it.
Yeah.
And if I want to kick a guy in the ass, I want to. As an assistant coach, you can't really kick a guy in the ass. You got to constantly be the buffer between the head coach and the players. And okay, Johnny, don't worry. Well, I think I know I could be positive with guys. I could, not all negative, even as an assistant. But man, you have to be on the same page somewhat with the coach, but you also be able to call out shit that you see and not be afraid to do it. So you're really supporting your head coach also, not just fucking agreeing with everything.
That's why I was a little bit worried about Luke Richardson when he took the job in Chicago, because he's just such a nice guy that he's probably more suited as an assistant, right?
Right.
Larry Robinson won the head coach with won the Stanley Cup with the Devils, but just he's an assistant by nature. Like you can tell. Kirk Muller, like he's had a couple of head coaching stints, but I think Kirk is best as an associate coach, as an assistant. Yeah.
Yes. And it's so true. Guys, their personalities are more suited to that. Mine is not. So, good question.
And you know what? A lot of people watching us right now are probably saying, and they're probably thinking, would Marty be a better assistant than he would be a head coach?
Probably.
Maybe.
Who knows?
Maybe.
Who knows? All right. Great question. Just doing it. Would you put Michael Pezzetta in the lineup? Jamie Landry? Yes, I would. Now, one of the things I believe on a lot of nights this team lacks is passion and intensity. That's one thing Michael Pezzetta will bring to this hockey team. Every night he steps on the ice, every shift he steps on the ice, he will try and get involved physically. He'll go to the net. He'll do what he can. Okay, he's not the best player, the most talented player. But what are the most fucking talented players doing? Can you...
I don't like the way they're treating him this year. And I know some people probably watching us are probably saying, give me a break. He makes $1 million. I don't care. He works hard. And by the way, he showed up to camp in amazing shape. Probably probably the best shape of anyone on the team. You know, like when the other guys aren't bringing, everyone knows that Pezzetta's a 13 maybe a
course.
14, and maybe on some teams a contender. Maybe he's not in the National Hockey League, but while he's there, he works his ass off. Put him in every now and then. Sit some of the fat cats who aren't bringing it. Put
There
him
you
in.
go.
What a great message, you know?
Yeah, it'd be a great message. I wouldn't have a problem. In a heartbeat, I'd put him in. And, you know, I wonder why, and I like to has anybody asked that question? Why haven't you played Michael Pezzetta?
I don't
Tamati?
think so. I don't think so.
I wish someone would ask that question and maybe ask him and just see what his answer is. Well, we want to win hockey games, maybe, is why we haven't put him in, because we don't have a chance to win if we put him in.
I would formulate the question so I would actually put him on the spot and say, Marty, everyone knows that Michael Pezzetta is a 13 on some teams, a 14 on some other teams, and maybe with all due respect to him, maybe not in the National Hockey League on some other teams. But when you see some games where guys don't give 100% of themselves, they lack effort, whether on some shifts, whether in some games, don't bring it, don't take advantage of opportunities. You need someone to change the momentum of a hockey game. Can you tell us why you haven't gone to him? Why aren't you going to him? Like,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, the good way to ask it.
he's not his
For
kind of
sure.
player. Like, we get
No.
it, and everybody
Yeah.
gets it, but
Yeah.
too many
All right.
passengers on too many nights.
All right. I get it for sure. All right. What's the next one here? James Kritokas. Try Gallagher on a line with Dach. Gallagher forces his line mates into the battle. See how Dach reacts. What do you think, Tom?
Why not? Why not? You know, Brendan Gallagher deserves. So before the season started, everyone would have told you Gallagher third line, maybe fourth. I get it.
Yeah.
The reality is that kid's busting his ass this year. Big time.
Huge.
And he's
Huge.
and you know what? Like, between you and I, he must be pissed off when he sees guys on the first line and guys on the second line that aren't bringing it. Don't you think he deserves a little bit of a candy every now and then, Brendan Gallagher? I do.
I do. Listen,
Yeah.
here's the deal. This kid this year is showing everything that he is all about. Everything. Since he got here. Everything. And you know, and we've had these conversations about him, the way he plays. I remember us talking when we were on that station we used to be on. And you were saying, he can't keep playing like this. He won't last past 30. And we've seen him tired nights, and we've seen him get all beat up. But
Yeah.
look at him this year, what he's doing. Like, he's really bounced back in a big way. And to me, that's an impressive, you know, determined, passionate hockey player. And that's what he's a hockey player. And he's given his best. And I'd like to see him get more of a chance.
You know
for
what?
sure.
If I'm a coach of any team at any level, I'd rather have guys like Gallagher, who maybe have, from a talent perspective, a pure talent perspective, 1-2 notches below some of the better players on the team. But I know I could rely on them game in, game out, give me everything. Like, what an example. But look, it's a big statement, but I'm going to make it anyway. To me, he's the true captain on the team. Right now,
Yeah.
in
yeah.
Suzuki's career, I think it's him.
Yeah, and you wonder, I guess I kind of get why they gave it to Nick to grow into that position,
Mm-hmm.
but boy, you know, and I'm not saying he hasn't done well with it. He has.
He's learning on the job.
Yeah, he's handling pretty well.
Yeah.
You know, it's not an easy thing at all to do, but I was always a guy that was after Brendan to be captain here because he personified everything that you want in a hockey player and you want in a leader. Bottom line. All right, we got one more question this week, and from Loretto Vetroni. Should we bring up some players from Laval and start cutting back on some non-achievers? Yeah, I mean, we'd like to, and not necessarily going to change things, but, you know, I think when you look at Laval right now, you got to let these guys develop. You don't want to bring them up into a situation. I don't believe you should bring them up into a situation like this one right here. I think you have some, you know, guys down there like Took and Abba's brother that eventually are going to be possibly fourth line players here. I think it's too early for them. I think they got to grow and experience some stuff down in the American Hockey League and grow.
Yeah.
And I'm just talking about those two guys right now. But there's other players down there.
Within 2 years.
Yeah.
Within 2 years.
And they're going to be making that transition. So I think to bring them now, you're doing a disservice to the organization and to them. They need some time to grow.
You know when Condotta came up?
Yeah.
Limited, okay?
Yeah.
But I thought he worked hard.
Yeah, he did.
I
Yeah.
thought he worked hard.
Yeah. Not easy to come up into this situation. So, yeah. And we talked about him today a little bit, but I'm going to put it out there. I'm going to make a phone call today to Jean Perron, and I'm going to set something up to have him.
That's cool.
Yeah, so if you're out there listening, make sure you don't want to miss this one, because Johnny and Knuckles are going to kiss and make up right here on the Raw Knuckles podcast.
Oh, that's amazing.
We had a great chat in Sherbrooke. We're at an event, junior game, went and signed autographs, and we did some interviews and stuff, and we got to say hello after all these years. But yeah, I don't hang on to shit. Was I pissed? I had just as much a part in that as he did. So
yeah,
it wasn't all him. And yeah, I was pissed at him when I left. But when I looked at it and got honest with myself, I had a big part in that too.
Yeah.
I put the GM in a bad spot. So we're gonna talk about it, John and I. You don't want to miss that one, Tony.
Yeah.
You have a great Sunday.
Thank you.
I really, really appreciate you joining me.
It's my pleasure. I'm actually off to a fundraiser right now. They, the LaSalle Soccer Association, they're having a little event. They're trying to raise money for underprivileged families, for kids who can't play their registration costs. Try and raise the money so like all the kids can be subsidized so that they can play for free type of thing. So
right.
I'm on my way to an event.
Fundraisers for soccer players, right? Think of hockey, how much it costs.
It's too much.
Insane.
It's crazy. We should do a show on that one of these days. It's too much. It's too much. My cousin's son plays AAA for like a high-end program or whatever. Or I don't know if it's AAA. It's an elite program. Anyway, he was mentioning to me that between the registration costs, they go to tournaments, the hotels, this, that, whatever, all that stuff. His son's a goalie, so he's got to spend about $4,000 on goalie equipment like every other year. But he mentioned to me that the parents spend anywhere between $25,000 to $40,000 net every year.
It's unbelievable.
$25,000 to $40,000 net every year.
It is incredible. It is incredible. All the best equipment, all the best everything.
Yeah.
Hey, Tony, again, thank you. Have a good day. Enjoy your day, and I appreciate you joining us.
All the best.
Yep. You take care.
Got operated on your shoulder and on your ankle, and like 4 or 5 days later, you're doing a show. I don't know, man. I don't know how you do it. Good for you.
Yep. Thanks, Tony.
I had 2 ingrown toenails, and I had to stop playing soccer. Cheers. Take care.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, what Tony's talking about there is this week I had shoulder surgery, rotator cuff, and torn bicep tendons. And then I also had I had my ankle fused, and I had a big screw taken out of my ankle. Not out of here, out of my ankle. And have been recovering at home here the past few days, and I'm climbing the walls. I can't wait to get out of the house. So, yeah, I'm getting there. Anyway, I want to thank everybody for joining us today, and please stay tuned. Keep an eye on the Sick Podcast, Raw Knuckles Podcast, in social media, because I will give you a heads up when Coach Jean Perron will be joining Knuckles. I can't wait for this one. Have a great day, everybody.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast, Raw Knuckles with Chris Nilan on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.